Well, I'm glad she acknowledges the importance of this issue about pensions, but it's all very well being concerned about it and looking at it. Haven't the events of recent times shown that swiftness in decision-making is at a premium? And so will she undertake to go back with her colleagues from the Treasury this afternoon, and since it was at the top of our concerns, as she herself said only last Thursday, and that many pensioners will be worried about that, will she sort this out today with her colleagues so that they can come back to the House during this week and say that that rule is suspended?
Well, I don't think that the Prime Minister or my colleagues in the Treasury need any advice from me on this point, nor, I might suggest, do they probably need... nor do I think they probably need any advice from him, and he can rest assured that they will act not only swiftly but sure-footedly. There is a serious situation across the board, whether it's jobs, small businesses, the housing market, charities, local government, and we're determined to take the action that's necessary, not only nationally but internationally, to see this country through.
Well, we look forward to the action, Mr. Speaker, and may I ask her, instead of concern and talking, which is all we've had so far at question time today, small businesses and pensioners are two of the casualties of an economy that was built on debt. So what exactly does the government mean when it says it is insisting that institutions being bailed out will maintain borrowing at 2007 levels, the year at the height of the boom that turned to bust? Isn't that irresponsible? And isn't that why the Baroness Vadera in the other place said there's no requirement for banks to lend forcibly, while the Chancellor was saying they would maintain lending at the 2007 levels? So who is speaking for the government, and what is the policy of the government on the lending of those banks?
Let me explain to the honourable gentleman, the right honourable gentleman in the House. I think having ensured that money goes in via the Bank of England to make sure that there's extra liquidity available, having ensured that we make loans available on a guaranteed basis at commercial rates, having made provision for buying shares, we want to make sure that after this government action, that actually, instead of the banks just sitting on the capital, they actually lend it to small businesses and homeowners. What would be the point of this government action if it doesn't make a difference to people who are feeling the pressure of the global credit crunch? So what has been written into the agreement with the banks in which we've taken shares is that they should, at reasonable rates, re-establish credit lines to the housing market and to small businesses. And when it comes to government debt, which he also mentioned, I do not regret, and we do not resolve for 1 minute, the investment in our schools and the public investment in our hospitals. But over the last 11 years, whilst we were also investing in hospitals and schools, we were also paying off government debt. So as in 1997, public debt as a share of GDP was 43%, and we reduced it to 37%. We are now in a position to allow government debt to rise in order that we should back up the economy in the way that's necessary. And on Monday, his party backed the measures we took to help get the financial services working properly. It's a shame he doesn't back the means to that end.
Well, Mr. Speaker, of course we have backed the measures, but the government are no longer in a position to boast about the economic record, when taxes have risen by more than £5,000 for every family in the country since 1997, when the World Economic Forum says 104 other countries are better prepared for the economic downturn, when debt has risen remorselessly, unemployment is rising at the fastest rate for 17 years. Inflation has trebled compared to 1997. Against that background, isn't it time to acknowledge that the claim to have abolished boom and bust was one of the most foolish, one of the most hubristic, one of the most irresponsible claims ever made by a British Prime Minister?
I think that this is a serious moment for the economy and does require serious action from government. But he should not write Britain off or compare us. He should not or compare us unfavourably with other countries. The Prime Minister will take action to protect this economy, and he will also work with the other European countries to make sure that international action is taken. And you could possibly say that in that respect, he's a man with a plan.